You're probably wondering when I was going to make a kimchi recipe for the season, and today is the day. That's why I'm going to make my Kimchi Soondubu Jjigae, or kimchi and pork soft tofu stew. It's spicy, hearty, and comforting, and gaining popularity by the minute. So come on, grab your kimchi and soft tofu, and I'll show you how to make this. If you're new to Korean cooking, some of these ingredients will seem a little intimidating, but don't worry, I'll break it down for you. What you're gonna need for this Kimchi Soondubu Jjigae is kimchi, kimchi juice, pork belly, garlic, sesame oil, Korean red pepper powder, fish sauce, onion, kelp, dried anchovies, enoki mushrooms, Korean radish, water, scallions, extra soft tofu, and an egg. You know what's kind of funny? A lot of my friends watching this who know me well will probably be laughing and wondering, why am I making Soondubu Jjigae? Because honestly, I'm not the hugest fan of it. I know, but guess what? I'm a fan of this one that I make. And the key to a really good Soondubu Jjigae is to have a really good broth. So that's what I'm gonna start off showing you with. I already made it in advance. You're left with a little over a cup of broth, but you start off with 2 cups of water, and then you add in some interesting ingredients. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, want more of a breakdown, then check out our Korean ingredients guide video. We'll link it down for you below. You want to start off with some dried anchovies, and they're sold like this in its whole form. And then what I do is I like to remove the innards or the guts and the head, so I just pluck it off with my hands easily. And then you just really use the tails. You start off with 6 medium to large dried anchovies that you can just pick up at the Korean grocery. And while you're there, you want to grab some kelp or dashima. This is the base of a lot of stocks. It's just dried seaweed, and you break off a piece of it or a couple pieces of it. This one is sold in smaller chunks, and you just throw in about 2 to 3 pieces of it, or 1 4-inch square piece of it if you buy it in a larger form. And then you grab a little chunk of Korean radish, and this I have been using all week, so I just have a little left over. All I do is peel it and slice off a round of it, and then I use half of it. So this is the half that's left behind. This adds a sweetness to the broth. So if you can totally make the broth without this, but it will taste different. This kind of has this natural aromatic sweetness that you can't replace. Then you grab an onion and you quarter it. Use 1/4 of it for your broth, and then you save the other quarter of it to chop up. Plunge it into 2 cups of water, bring it to a boil, then reduce your heat slightly to kind of a low boil and let that go for 10 minutes. So make sure you time it. After 10 minutes, just strain it, and then you'll be left with a little over a cup of broth. And this broth is liquid gold. At this point, there is no extra seasoning in it. There's no salt, soy sauce, anything of that kind, but it'll still have a really good taste to it. You'll be surprised. This might not look like a lot of broth, but honestly, this is all you need. And the key to this soup is that it's gonna be this broth, some sour fermented kimchi with its juice, and some gochugaru or Korean red chili pepper powder. So this is just Korean red chilies that have been dried. And now I'm gonna get chopping. I've already chopped up some pork belly, and I have 3 ounces of thinly sliced pork belly. They sell this at the Korean grocery store already in a package, sometimes in the frozen section. Sometimes it's different thicknesses. I try to find the thinnest one I can, and then I just chop it up into little chunks. I already chopped up my quarter onion that I had left over, along with 1 teaspoon of minced garlic, and 1 to 2 scallions, depending on your preference. This is going to be garnished at the end. And then I have a bundle of enoki mushrooms. It usually comes in a plastic package sold at the Korean market. It's stuck together at the end. So I'm just going to cut it off here. And I'm probably not going to use this entire bundle. I feel like it's a little much for this amount of stew, so I'll use a little more than half. And of course, we need sundubu, and this is extra soft tofu. So you have to make sure it says extra soft, and it'll come in a tube like this. And there's a little line here for you to cut, but I usually just chop it in the middle somewhere. Oh, that is so satisfying. I'm just gonna set this aside and then move on to my kimchi. Okay, hold on to your noses, folks. I'm using very sour fermented kimchi. This is why it's perfect for when you have old kimchi just sitting away in your fridge. You don't know what to do with it. If you're using fresh kimchi that was just made or just bought, it's not gonna taste the same. It'll just have this like raw, weird, salty quality to it. But when it's sour, it's so delightful in this stew. I actually didn't have sour kimchi on hand in time for this video, so I made it happen. What I did was I just scooped out some kimchi that I already bought and I set it aside in this Tupperware on the counter at room temperature for about 2 days. And instead of keeping it in the fridge, which fermentation will probably take anywhere from like 1 to 2 weeks, but this is now beautifully sour and it's so pungent, but it's so good. I bought mine already pre-sliced, but I'm still gonna slice it up some more. And you're just gonna go for half a cup. Whatever cutting board you're using, make sure you rinse it right away because it does tend to stain a little bit. It will come out, but that's just my little Julie helpful tip for you guys. I love when that happens. That's like a perfect half cup right there, and I didn't even try. And while you're at it, you need kimchi juice, that same fermented kimchi. So I'm gonna do 3 tablespoons. All of my elements are pretty much ready, so I'm gonna go over to the stove and let's cook this up. I'm gonna use this little cool container I got from a Korean market, but you can just use any small or medium pot. And I'm gonna just heat it up with 2 teaspoons of sesame oil, and that is a key ingredient as well. And then we're gonna add in our kimchi, pork, onions, and garlic. And I'm gonna hold the scallions until later. That's just pure garnish. Man, that smells so good. But if you're really not used to these smelly things, like it will offend you a little bit. I'm just gonna let this go for a couple of minutes until the pork is cooked and the kimchi is wilted down. It looks like it's getting there, so I'm gonna add in the rest of my seasonings. I have a tablespoon, I'm gonna do about a heaping tablespoon of Korean red chili pepper powder. If you like things really hot, go for more. Likewise, if you're scared of the heat, then you can just do less. We're gonna add the 3 tablespoons of kimchi juice, nice and sour. And of course, our beautiful broth, anchovy and kelp broth. I'm also gonna add in a tablespoon of fish sauce. This is kind of a surprise ingredient and it's very pungent, and I think that's why it's extra smelly up in here, but it is necessary. You're just gonna push up that kind of like sweet, smooth flavor. We're also gonna put in a little bit of salt and pepper too. Kimchi and pork is such a beautiful combination, and Koreans love pork. They love kimchi, they love pork, so this is perfect. I'm just gonna bring this up to a boil, and then when it does, we're gonna add in our soft tofu. I just plunged my soft tofu in. You gotta work a little bit quick, and then you just grab a spoon and you slightly break up the bigger chunks. But it is like butter, absolute butter. So be very gentle and don't break it up too much, that's the key. Leave it in huge chunks as much as possible because just the heat itself will break it down. And sundubu, or extra soft tofu, does tend to disintegrate a little bit. So if you're not used to working with it, you might have it just disintegrate on you the first time you try it, and then you'll know for the next time. The only thing you have to think about is to make sure to scrape the bottom of the pot once in a while to make sure that the tofu doesn't settle and burn. We're just gonna let this go for about 5 minutes, then we're gonna top it with our enoki mushrooms, chopped scallions, and a raw egg, because that's traditional. And then the heat of the soup will just cook that egg as it sits. Ideally, you want to bring this bubbling hot to the table. But if you're shooting a video like us, you're out of luck. It's still nice and hot though. Ooh, look at that.
It looks so delicious.
Ooh, I'm gonna break up that egg yolk in there.
It looks so good and smells so good.
Yeah, that's the thing though. When it's like percolating on the stove, it's really hard to resist. You have enough there on your bowl? Jeez.
Yeah, I'm getting ready for lunch. This is my lunch.
So you can scoop it out of this and into individual bowls, but we're gonna do it Korean style, where it's communal bowl eating. Everyone just dips their spoon into the pot.
Oh, that's so takes you back home.
Home where?
The memories of home.
Oh, actually, Joe was born in Korea. I don't know what that feels like. I was born here.
It's pretty perfect.
Pretty spot on.
Yeah.
It's perfectly spicy, savory, with a hint of that slow cooked, like it's been cooking all day kind of taste. But you saw it took 10 minutes to cook the broth and like just a few minutes to pull it all together. For substitutions, if you really, really do not want to make this broth, then fine, okay? Use reduced sodium chicken broth and then just do everything as is. Use the kimchi juice, use the Korean red pepper powder, use the fish sauce.
Definitely invest in the broth because
That's what it's all about.
that just makes it so much heartier. Like the flavor, there's a depth in that flavor.
Oh, look at you.
That's right.
We just want to stop filming at this point because we just want to eat now. It's so tasty. It's comforting, it's spicy, it's really complicated in flavor, and you'll really enjoy it. Well, I hope you enjoyed watching this episode, and if you did, remember to tell us by pushing like, leave a comment down below, and subscribe to our channel. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.
So good. Bye.
The funny thing, okay. I don't know how to start this. Okay. Or a kimchi and pork soft tofu stew. It's spicy and hearty and comforting. Oh, you want to start off with some and if you want to take a bite out of that, and now I'm going to get to chopping all of my veg and now I'm going to get chopping to all of okay. And with that, I'm moving on to it. Oh wait, hold on. Maybe and what is that smile?
That's action.
Action.